I want to discuss what may be a question on the whole thing. I've discussed this whole system with my Rabbi and with lots of people, and there's one question that I've been hearing from Mechanchim, from anyone involved in trying to help people do tshuva. The same idea keeps coming up again and again, and what they say is, it doesn't last. All these cheshbon hanefesh ideas, all these plans, do this for 5 minutes a day, do that, it's great when you're feeling motivated, but experience seems to show that people don't have what it takes to keep this going in the long term. You could do it for Elul maybe, because Rosh Hashanah is coming, and then Yom Kippur is coming. But then Sukkot comes, and the party begins, and that natural motivation, the push, isn't there. So who's doing a cheshbon hanefesh in the middle of Teves? I mean, who's doing a cheshbon hanefesh? It doesn't last. So what I want to let you know is, this is different. I want to explain to you why this system is different, and it will last. And it's very simple. The difference is, what kind of motivation is it? Is it external, or is it internal motivation? If your motivation is Elul, if your motivation is Yom Hadin on Rosh Hashanah, and oh my gosh, the books of life and death are open, and Hashem is deciding if I'm going to be healthy, if I'm going to get married, if I'm going to have children, sure, that's a motivation, but it's an external motivation. The external motivation leaves, it's only a matter of time, until we sink back into the Havle Hazman, blah, 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 the regular old thing. We're not good at committing and sticking with things for long term. But that's not what we're doing here. I'm not telling you, you should change, you should feel guilty. Let's have a little fun with that. Because we should. We really should. God gives us everything. God, we're so ungrateful. Hashem gives us our life, He gives us everything we have, and we're just so mean to Him. The expression people say, just daven it up. Just say it quickly. I'll tell you a little story. I was once saying Kiddush Levana. So you know how it is, if you're a Jewish male, you do this like once a month, right? After Marv on Matzah Shabbos, you go outside, there's like a relatively new moon, a few days after Rosh Chodesh, you open your siddur in the pale moonlight, and you say a blessing. Now, as part of that whole system, the custom is, you turn to the guy next to you, and you say Shalom Aleichem, and you do that 3 times, preferably to 3 different people. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, and then you go back to continue whatever it is that you're saying. So one time I'm saying, I'm doing my Kiddush Levana, and suddenly the guy goes, Shalom Aleichem, and he goes back. He keeps reading. Now, I had an issue with that, so I went over to him after, and this is one of my favorite routines. I went over to him and I said, there's a problem here. You know what the problem here is? And he looks at me like, what's going on? The problem here is that you think that I am God. And I will not stand for that kind of treatment. He's looking at me like, what? I don't even think you're weird. That's right. That's right. Because people pray to God. But that's a disgusting way to talk to another human being. Because, apparently God doesn't mind when people pray to Him. Then they get a phone call. Oh, yeah, Ken. And that's the way they talk to God. You know what? I am not God. And I refuse to be treated that way. If you want to talk to me, eye contact, a little human connection. What's this business you tell me? Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem. No. You want to say Shalom Aleichem? Say Shalom Aleichem like a man. Stick out your hands. Say hello. You think I'm God, but I refuse to be stepped on that way. What do you think? I'm a God? You can just step on me? I'm a human being. Treat me with a modicum of respect. Okay. Like by that time, the guy just ran away. I remember another time I was actually learning in Lakewood, and it's a big place, thousands of people. No one really says hi to each other. I was actually walking outside one day, and the guy says Shalom Aleichem. I was shocked. He almost fell over. He goes, no, Kiddush Levana. Anyway, the point is, we're not nice to God. He gives us everything in the world, and we're just rude to Him. So sure, we need to do tshuva. And someone can give you a shmooze like this, and you say, yes, it isn't right. I need to change. I need to start davening with kavanah and paying attention to what I'm saying. It's going to last. But how will it last for a long time? Usually it doesn't. What's different about this tshuva system than all those external systems of using guilt and obligation is we're talking about pleasure and pain. And as long as we live, we're going to seek pleasure. Let's say for 2 weeks I didn't seek pleasure. Let's say I forgot to do my cheshbon hanefesh. So if I'm working with the guilt thing and the obligation thing, it's like, oh man, I've been 2 weeks a bad person. I'm so guilty. What usually happens is we just kind of give up. We throw in the towel. So somewhere in the middle of the winter, we're like, oh, it's so far from Elul. Whatever. I'll just be like the other billion people walking around planet Earth not making a cheshbon hanefesh. I'll worry about this next Elul. But when the motivation is not obligation and guilt, when the motivation is pleasure, So just because I had a bad time for 2 weeks, I have to continue having a bad time? No one says that. After a while, we're just going to regret and feel more pain. You know what? I'm not enjoying my life the way I could be. I am not actualizing myself. I haven't been doing this cheshbon nefesh. And I know that when I was feeling better. I learned how to chase pleasure that comes from actualizing who I really want to be. So since the motivation is not guilt or obligation, rather it's our own search for pleasure and avoidance of pain, it's impossible to get burnt out, because no one gets burnt out from pleasure. And no one gets burnt out from trying to run away from pain. So come and join us. Send your email to the Torah Center at gmail.com. And let's learn how to have a great life the way Hashem wants us to.